Hey guys, welcome back. Admittedly, I am way behind on this one. I know everyone else has been putting out their tutorials and guides on how to solo this mission, but I am just now finally getting around to it. And yeah, I hope it's something that you guys find useful. Personally, I like the solo stuff just because I don't want to really find a fire team sometimes, so this video is also for those kind of people. Before I continue, I have been a little bit under the weather, so if my voice sounds a little bit strange, that's why. So Presage, I have no idea how it's actually pronounced. I've heard all of those pronunciations. Maybe leave a comment down below with how you say it. I have no idea. Just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to call it Presage. Presage, in comparison to other secret missions that came out like Outbreak or Whisper of the Worm, isn't quite as difficult. So for you solo players, I would definitely have some hope. All Presage really is a series of puzzles, some maze-like areas, followed by a couple combat arenas. Puzzles are pretty simple. Generally, you just have to find things or find the next path. Not too hard to think through. I went through it blind the very first time, and that was a lot of fun. It did take me a little while to figure out, probably about an hour and a half in total to solo it. But once you get it done the first time, the puzzles are super easy. As far as the fights for this mission, they're not too bad. I'd say the key thing is to just keep your distance into crowd control. At the end, you have a boss, of course, and throughout some of the other encounters, you'll have other beefier targets that you might want to focus on first, but I would recommend just focusing on clearing ads. And I've got a couple recommendations to help you out there. Before I continue, I will, of course, have time codes and the handy YouTube chapters feature throughout this video. So if there's anything you feel like you need to skip, I've got it all bookmarked so you can do that. Also, if you find this video helpful, I'd love if you gave it a like and subscribed. Your support and your time really does mean a lot to me, and I appreciate it. Leave a comment, too. I love talking with you guys in the comments, and this mission gives plenty to talk about. Although I will say, if you have not played this mission yet and you haven't really looked up anything about it, you should stop this video right now, go grab some headphones, turn off all the lights in your room, and go play this mission. It's a really fun experience going in blind. I just think there's a particular enjoyment that you would get out of not knowing necessarily what you're doing the very first time. Alright, so now that we've gotten through most of the puzzles, we're going to get to some of the combat of the mission, and this is where you're going to get tested to go flawless. So let's talk loadout so we can make that a little bit easier. The way I separate things in my head is that you can either go for extreme lethality, or you can go for high survivability. So in terms of a high-powered build, I would probably go with charged with light mods, such as Blast Radius, High Energy Fire, Stacks on Stacks, and Taking Charge. So right there you have 3 abilities to become charged with light, all feeding into High Energy Fire, which is going to give you a 20% damage buff. Another mod I like is Supercharged. Definitely not mandatory, but it allows you to hold 2 more charges of light, bringing your total to 4 at a time, which I find very helpful. So what about weapons that work well with this build? One of my absolute favorites for this, which you won't see me actually use in this run, but is one that I've used in other runs, is Salvage or Salvo. Salvo works really great with Blast Radius, which can charge you with light, but it also drops orbs all the time. So in this case, Salvo is going to be getting you charged with light just by getting kills with it. It's going to be dropping tons of orbs, and either picking up orbs or getting kills is going to give you 2 charges of light. So basically you're almost always going to be doing 20% extra damage. Salvo is just a fantastic charged with light loop because of chain reaction and all the multi-kills you're going to be getting. As far as the kinetic slot, I usually just go with an SMG like Multimach CCX or Extraordinary Rendition. Both of those work pretty great in PvE. For your power weapon, I would probably go with Anarchy. Anarchy is a really safe way to lay down a lot of damage on some of the tougher abominations that you'll find and the boss right at the end. When you're going for a flawless run, it's not a bad idea to mitigate risk with a weapon like Anarchy. And actually, generally what I do is just shoot the boss twice and then jump back up onto the top floor, especially since his slam is incredibly dangerous. Just be very careful when you're jumping between floors. I didn't do it in this run, but more than a couple times I got caught up on the pipes a little bit and he just slammed me to death. This loadout does require a little bit of patience, but it's highly effective. Another loadout I'm a really big fan of when it comes to raw damage is, of course, a Warmind Cell loadout. Because if we're talking raw damage, it's kind of a crime not to include Warmind Cells, right? So for this one, I basically just go full solar mods for Warmind Cells. So that's going to be Rage of the Warmind, Wrath of Rasputin, Global Reach, Burning Cells, Fire Team Medic. I kind of like including Fire Team Medic because it helps ensure that the time you spend destroying the Warmind Cell doesn't accidentally get you killed. But with that said, I don't really need to talk much about Warmind Cells. I think most of us here know just how good they are. I mean, seriously, in any one of these rooms, if you can just pop one Warmind cell, it clears out almost everyone except for the tougher majors. So as far as the weapons you want to be using for this loadout, I found that having a kinetic shotgun was kind of nice. I used Heritage with Reconstruction. I like not reloading, so that was a good pick for me. And then of course your workhorse weapon, the Energy Aikilos SMG. Obviously, this is what you're going to need to start spawning Warmind cells, so take out a few trash ads first, shotgun the Warmind cell, finish off the majors, and that's basically all done and dusted. I can't say enough about how good Warmind cells are, and please try them before they get nerfed, because Bungie mentioned that they're going to nerf them at some point, so try them. They're a lot of fun. I have a hard time thinking Bungie is going to add something this overpowered again for quite some time. Finally, what about a loadout that helps you survive a little bit better? Maybe you're not quite as aggressive, maybe you like to play back a little bit, so what are your options? As always, I would say Wormhusk Crown for hunters is always a good option, restoring some health as you dodge, but probably more of a standout option this season would be Omni Oculus. This is the exotic chest armor from the solo Lost Sectors, and it grants you 2 smoke bombs if you're on a void subclass, and anytime you go invisible you get a 50% damage resistance. 50% is pretty huge, so whether you're top tree and you just roll out of the way and you turn invisible, you get the damage resistance if you pull off a headshot on middle tree, and you'll also get damage resistance if you throw a smoke bomb at your feet on bottom tree. Bottom tree is probably the way to go. The invisibility lasts a little bit longer, you can proc it twice, and dodging near an enemy if you have Gambler's Dodge is going to restore your melee energy. Not to mention, as just a part of the subclass tree, when you do damage with your grenade, it restores part of your smoke bomb, and considering grenades last extremely long on bottom tree Night Stalker, it's really not difficult to have your smoke bombs up all the time. So I'd say that's probably the route you want to take if you're playing it safe with exotics, but what about your mods? For mods, again I would say maybe something like Blast Radius and Salvager's Salvo so you can become charged with light easily. Taking charge, picking up orbs charges you with light, and then stacks on stacks, charging you with light twice. And then combine that with something like Protective Light. Each stack you have of Protective Light is going to protect you longer after you lose your shields, and this is also a very strong protective buff. I didn't use it in this run, but I definitely have had this perk save me in a lot of other situations, whether that's in a raid or soloing other dungeons. Overall, it's just a pretty fantastic Charged with Light mod. If you don't want to run Blast Radius because you're afraid of bouncing a grenade off a wall and killing yourself, which is completely reasonable, then I'd recommend doing something like Charge Harvester, where any kill gives you a chance to become charged with light. Either way, I think you'll have Charged with Light more than often enough. So for some general advice before I sign off, again, for the encounters, I would try to keep your distance, stick in like the back hallways for the final boss fight, and don't really engage the boss on the lower level. There are going to be some captains, other ads, and then the boss himself, and his slam does a ton of damage. If you get caught in it, you'll die pretty quickly. So usually after shutting off the coolant valves, I just jump down there and pop him with 2 Anarchy shots, and then jump back up to the first floor. You can rotate sides, you can stay on the same side, rinse and repeat until he goes into his next phase, clear out the ads, and repeat again. This mission really isn't too bad. I don't think you guys will have too much trouble with it. If you haven't soloed it yet, I would totally recommend giving it a shot. It took me around 20 minutes, and I was going for a flawless, as well as a rather conservative playstyle, so I have no doubt you guys could go a little faster. I don't want this video to be too long, so I think I'm going to cut it off there. You guys get the point. You totally got this. Just go give it a shot. You'll be fine. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, just let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate your time, and if you'd be so willing to subscribe and like, I would also really appreciate that. I really enjoy making these videos, and it means a lot when some of you guys reach out to me and let me know that you enjoyed the video too. So anyway, I hope the video helps you go get that flawless. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one.